during our earlier discussion, we have gone for the central nervous system that consists of brain and spinal cord. And in brain, almost every part we have discussed in detail. If you remember, it was the forebrain, midbrain, and hindbrain that we have understood in a systematic manner, and the variety of components which are forming the human brain that we have gone through. And after finishing that, we have proceeded on to the spinal cord. And for spinal cord also, general anatomy as well as histological aspect we have studied. Now, after going through that, the next component that we are going to see, it is a second type of nervous system. We call it as a peripheral nervous system. Now, to understand this peripheral nervous system, you require a simple diagram. एक छोटीशी diagram मी तुम्हाला दाखवतो आणि मग we will go for what we call it as a peripheral nervous system. Now, consider this as the human body. Okay, it is a diagrammatic, and yes, late येणारे त्रास द्यायला सुरुवात झाली आहे, उद्यापासून नाही. Okay, then this is the brain and this is the spinal cord. Now it is located in the center, it is located in the midpoint of the body, and obviously when we consider the branching that are arising from this central nervous system like this, and that go to the periphery of the body, that's why they are constituting the peripheral nervous system, that is from central point towards the periphery of the body. When the connections are distributed, obviously we are going to say it is an peripheral nervous system. So I hope you might have understood the meaning of peripheral nervous system. Okay, now once we understood that, then the second part, it is nothing but the definition. It is nothing but the definition of the nervous, we can say PNS, peripheral nervous system. Obviously, these are the nerves that are arising from brain and spinal cord. Bole to central nervous system. The nerves that are arising from brain and spinal cord, we call them as peripheral nervous system. So automatically, peripheral nervous system straight away आपण divide करू. One that is arising from the brain. Now, when they are arising from the brain, we call them as cranial nerves. And when they are arising from the spinal cord, we call them as a spinal nerve. So, peripheral nervous system, compulsorily, they are consisting of two components. From the brain, it is the cranial nerve. And from the spinal cord, they are the spinal nerves. So, it consists of nerves that are arising from brain and spinal cord. Now, these nerves, which are starting from the brain and spinal cord and going into the periphery of the body, they may be covered, insulated, myelinated, or they may be open without insulation. That is called as non-myelinated. I hope 11वीला तुम्ही neurons जेव्हा शिकले होते तेव्हा आपण myelin sheath असेल तर that is myelinated, myelin sheath नसेल तर that is non-myelinated. Not only that, the myelinated असेल तर आपण त्याला म्हणतो white matter. And non-myelinated acyl, it is obviously called as gray matter. I hope you remember that. Okay. Then if you move further and see, according to the functions, already I have told you during the discussion, when any impulse, any information from the sense organ, it is brought into the CNS. From the receptor organ to the CNS, the information coming in. And when that information is coming in, we call it as a sensory. And that nerve that bring information from surrounding, from sense organ to the CNS, they are called as sensory nerves. Then in our central nervous system, brain and spinal cord, some analysis is done, some decisions are taken. Now that decisions are given to the effector organ, like muscles, like bones, like gland. Now that information, that decision from CNS to the effector organ, that conduction pathway, it is called as motor nerve. It is called as motor nerve that conduct nerve impulse from central nervous system to effector organ or motor organ, like we can say muscles, like bone, or even we can say the glands. And sometimes they are performing both role, incoming as well as outgoing. And when both sensory and motor functions are performed by such a type of nerve, they are said to be the mixed nerves. So sensory, motor, and mixed, these are the three types of nerves that you can find in the peripheral nervous system. Okay, then depending upon the nerves where they are arising from, whether they are arising from brain, we call them as cranial nerves. And when they are arising from the spinal cord, we call them as spinal nerves. So two types of nerves straight away we can have. Then as far as the cranial nerves are concerned, which are arising from the brain, which are arising from the prime organ of the nervous system, that is said to be the brain. They are called as cranial nerves. Now these cranial nerves, they are unique in their nature. They are important for your NEET exam. How many of them are there? As far as fish and amphibians and reptiles are concerned, fish, amphibian, reptile, they will have 10 pairs arising from the brain. And in case of mammals, in case of man, in case of human being, there are 12 pairs in the, we can say, occurrence. So it is to be remembered. काय लक्षात ठेवाल? Fish, amphibian, reptile. We are talking about chordates only. But chordate मध्ये fish, amphibian, reptile, they will have 10 pairs. And as far as the human beings are concerned, mammals are concerned, they will be 12 pairs, right? So let's go on to that 12 pairs where here you can see these are the 12 pairs totally. And in mug, at the hit 12 pairs, now it is important that you have to remember the number sequence of that nerve. असं चालणार नाही की कोणालाही पहिला नंबर, कोणालाही दुसरा नंबर. No, the number Roman numeral, it is given to them and it is to be remembered. And for that purpose, we can have a sentence that will help you to remember all the names in the sequence. And what are that? Yes, that is the oh, 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 to touch and feel very good velvet, such heaven. अनेक प्रकारचे तुम्हाला सेंटेन्सेस इंटरनेटला पण मिळून जातील. ऑन द ऑकेजन ऑफ द पार्टी फ्यू अट्रॅक्टिव्ह फेसेस आर गॅदर्ड व्हाया स्पेशल हायवे, हे पण एक सेंटेन्स आहे. अँड दिस इज अ न्यू वन, आय फाउंड इट. Oh, 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 to touch and feel very good, velvet, such heaven. Now, if you take each and every alphabet of each word, the first alphabet of each word, it will give you the name of that corresponding nerve. How? See, पहिला O, it is olfactory. Dusra O, it is optic. The third one, oculomotor. Then trochlear, or we can say pathetic. Then it is the trigeminal. And then we can have, yeah, it is, we can say ophthalmic, maxillary, and mandibular. Then if you move further, it will be the abducens, facial, auditory, glossopharyngeal, vagus, spinal accessory, and hypoglossal. These are the 12 pairs. How? Here, on occasion of tea party बोले तो T and P एकत्र. Then the attractive stand for abducens, faces are gathered via spatial highway. That is my old sentence. आणि नवीन सेंटेन्स कोणता आहे? तर it is oh to touch and feel very good, velvet, such heaven. So that is now we can say some trick to remember them, but we are more interested in the actual name, the origin of the nerve, कुठून origin होते, then कुठे जाते, distribution, what nature it has got, sensory motor mix, and what kind of function it is performing. Okay, so let's go for the number one. It is olfactory nerve. You know, olfactory bulb आपण किती वेळेला बघितलाय, so you can understand very easily olfactory nerve. Now that olfactory nerve, it is having the origin where? From the olfactory epithelium of nasal chamber. Starting from the nasal chamber, it will go into the brain, right? So olfactory nerve arising from olfactory epithelium, nasal epithelium of the nasal chamber. And where it goes into the olfactory lobe, right? And from the olfactory lobe, we know in case of human being, olfactory lobe, it is useless. It is highly reduced. But तिथून ते function काढून कुठं नेला असेल? Obviously, it is in the temporal lobe of the cerebrum. Cerebrum मध्ये information जाते ती. And then the cerebrum will take the cognizance of the incoming impulse. Automatically, it is incoming bole to, it will be the sensory nerve. And what it does, it gives us the sensation of smell. We can understand कि अरे यार पाव भाजीचा वास येतोय, अरे यार छान खिचडीचा वास येतोय, बिर्याणीचा वास येतोय, काही लोकांसाठी मटन चिकनचा वास येतोय. The वास येतोय, we understand with the brain, but we take it with the olfactory nerve. So that is number one, olfactory nerve. Olfactory epithelium of nasal chamber is the origin. It enters into the olfactory lobe. More correctly talking, it is a temporal lobe of the cerebrum. That will be the area it covers. Nature is sensory, and obviously function, it is related to the olfaction. That is nothing but the smell. Similarly, the second nerve is there. That is nothing but the optic nerve. Pata hai. Midbrain, that was consisting of optic lobe. Apne mein to gaya. Bacha hi nahi. So it is removed to the corpora quadrigemina, that we know, but still it is there. So optic nerve origin is from retina of the eye, and then it covers the entire retina of the eye. Then it will conduct it to the corpora quadrigemina. Kaisa hai? Once again, it is sensory, and it gives us the sensation of light. Sensation of light bole to, it is the dim light or a bright light that we can able to understand. It is the sensation of light which is given. So this is the second nerve, the second O, optic, retina of the eye, and it is distributed towards the retina of the eye. More correctly talking, corpora quadrigemina. It is once again sensory, sensation of light. It is a function. The third one, it is the oculomotor. It is the third, which is named as oculomotor. It is the cerebrum. It is arising from cerebrum, right? And when it arises from the cerebrum, it goes into the four eye muscles: inferior oblique, superior rectus, inferior rectus, and medial rectus. These are the four. In all, 6 muscles are there. जे डोळ्यांची हालचाल करता आपली, त्याच्यातले 4 इथे आहे आणि 2 पुढे येतील. मग oculomotor, it is arising from the cerebrum. What it covers? 4 eye muscle. त्यातलं पहिलं बघा, here you can see this is the eye. This is the eye. मग this is the one way, this is another one. It is a superior rectus, inferior rectus, right? Then we can have oblique rectus, that is working in the oblique direction, and forward and backward, that is with the help of medial rectus. So you can imagine a small cricket ball in your hand, or we can say the football. आणि मग आपण फुटबॉल हातात घेऊन जर का असं केलं, दिस इज द मुवमेंट. आपले डोळे खाली आणि वरती बघतात, राईट? एखाद्याकडे रागाने बघायचं तर आपण असं बघतो, एखाद्याकडे आपली चूक असली तर आपण खाली बघतो. नाउ दॅट अप अँड डाऊन, दिस इज द सुपेरियर, दिस इज द इन्फेरियर. ओके, त्याच्यानंतर आपण साइड वाईज मुवमेंट करतो डोळ्यांची, अँड दॅट साइड वाईज मुवमेंट इज पॉसिबल बिकॉज ऑफ द ऑब्लिक वन. अँड कधी कधी आपण घाबरलो तर डोळे पुढे करतो किंवा मागे करतो. सो फॉरवर्ड अँड बॅकवर्ड मुवमेंट, इट इज विथ द हेल्प ऑफ oculomotor or 4 pairs of eye muscles. Obviously they are controlled by brain, means it is a, we can say, outgoing information from the brain, and that is the motor. And what they are doing, I have told you, it is a movement of eye. Okay, so once again, oculomotor, cerebrum, 4 eye muscles. त्याच्यामध्ये कोण कोण येतं? Inferior, superior, inferior rectus, and medial rectus. They are all motor in nature and movement of eyeball. Then number 4, it is the pathetic. Now pathetic, it is the floor of the midbrain. It is also called as trochlear. Pathetic or trochlear, that is another name for it. So floor of the midbrain, already I have told, this upper portion, it is the anterior choroid plexus. आणि खाली जो आहे, from the floor of the midbrain, that is said to be the diencephalon area, the origin of the pathetic nerve will go, and it will go to the superior oblique muscle. Once again, the upper movement of the eyes, जे वरच्या सरफेसनी movement आहे, that superior oblique muscles will be controlled by pathetic or trochlear. And once again, it is motor in nature, and it is responsible for rotation of the eyeball. जी movement है like this. अशी पण movement होते, अशी पण movement होते, अशी आणि अशी पण. All the 6 movements are there with the help of 6 type of muscles that are controlled by oculomotor and pathetic. आता इथे नीटचं काय असू शकतं? The nerves which are concerned with the movement of eyes or vision, they are, आणि मग पेअर मध्ये olfactory, optic, oculomotor, pathetic, trigeminal, ophthalmic. So there you should remember oculomotor number 3 and pathetic number 4. They are related to the movement and rotation of the eyeball, right? Then the next one, it is the 5th one, that is called as trigeminal. Now, what is this trigeminal? It is the region of medulla oblongata that gives rise to trigeminal nerve. And where it go? It doesn't go anywhere. It is completely covering the area of our jaws. It is completely covering the area of our jaws, and obviously it is the trigeminal that is the first mixed nerve. For need purpose, you have to remember this. It is the first mixed nerve, which is that trigeminal. One of the following is the first mixed nerve. Mixed nerve भरपूर आहे, पण त्याच्यातली पहिली cranial nerve जी mixed आहे, that is said to be the trigeminal. It is mixed and it is responsible for sensation of touch, taste, and jaw movement. Sensation of touch, taste, and jaw movement, they are controlled by the trigeminal nerve in double manner, incoming as well as outgoing. Actually, this trigeminal, when it is controlling the touch, taste, and jaw movement, it will go to the different areas, and it has given rise to the branching. Asha 3 branches trigeminal, 3 geminal, giving rise to 3 sub branches. Out of that, the first one, it is called as ophthalmic. Ophthalmic, it goes to lacrimal gland. Lacrimal gland मालूम है, मुलींमध्ये सर्वात जास्त activated असते. Yeah, it is called as tear gland. Then conjunctiva of the eye, we can say the surface area surrounding the lens. Then forehead, this one. Then eyelid. Then cheeks, upper lip. Lacrimal gland, conjunctiva of eye, and forehead along with the eyelid. The sensory, we can say information, it is taken by ophthalmic nerve. Then maxillary. Maxillary, it is a lower region. It is a cheek, upper lip, and gums and lower eyelid that will be covered by the maxillary. Once again, it will be sensory. And the third one, it is a mandibular. Mandible, bole the lower jaw. Lower jaw, lower lip, and allied area, it will be controlled. It will be innervated by the mandibular nerve, and it is a mixed in nature. It has got mixed nature. So that is trigeminal, which is further given. Further, we can say it is divided into 3: ophthalmic, maxillary, and mandibular. And in all, it is going to cover the facial area. Simply talking, it is a facial area. And ophthalmic मध्ये मग काय काय innervation आहे? Lacrimal, conjunctiva, and forehead along with the eyelids. Maxillary मध्ये cheeks, upper lips, gums, and lower eyelids. And in mandibular मध्ये lower jaw, lower lip along with the allied area, and it has got the mixed nature. So that is number 5. Then number 6 will be there. Now the 6th nerve, it is called as abducens. It is called as abducens, and from where it is arising, it is from the ventral surface of the medulla oblongata, lower portion of the medulla oblongata, and it goes to the lateral rectus muscles of the eyeball. And that lateral movement like this, आपण इकडून इकडे, ते माधुरी दीक्षित करते गाणं, त्या कुठल्या तरी गाण्यामध्ये माहिती आहे, डोळे इथून सुरुवात होतात, असे इकडे जातात. Now that movement, lateral movement of the eyeball muscle, it is possible with the help of abducens, and once again it is a motor nerve, and movement of the eye, it is a function. Mahi number 6, abducens, ventral surface of medulla oblongata is the origin, goes to the lateral muscles of the eyeball, and it will control the motor, or we can say it will give the information from CNS to the eyeball, and it will be responsible for lateral movement of the eyes. Then 7th one, it is the facial. Obviously, it is arising from the lateral side of the pons varoli. Lateral sides of the pons varoli, and then comes up into the facial area with muscles of the face, neck, taste bud, and salivary gland. All these area will be innervated. It is again mixed in nature, sensory as well as motor. Then it is controlling what? It is a facial expression, movement of the neck, taste, saliva secretion. All these activity will come under the facial nerve. काय काय येतं याच्यामध्ये? Facial nerve is the name. Seventh number is there. Lateral side of the pons, muscles of the face, neck, taste bud and salivary gland, they are controlled, innervated, mixed in nature. Facial expression, जे तुम्ही कधीच देत नाही. Movement of neck in response to sound or some we can say stimulus. Then taste कळते आपल्याला की चांगली टेस्ट आहे, वाईट टेस्ट आहे, तिखट आहे, गोड आहे, आणखीन काय काय. देन सिक्रीशन ऑफ सलायवा. नुसतं पिझ्झा म्हटलं तरी बऱ्याचशा पोरींच्या तोंडातनं पाणी सुटून जातं. इट इज बिकॉज ऑफ सलायवा सिक्रेशन बाय फेशियल नर्व. Then the eighth one, it is auditory. Now auditory, audition. Yeah, it is the auditory. It is arising from the lateral side of the medulla oblongata. It is arising from lateral sides of the medulla oblongata. It is innervating the internal ear that is responsible for hearing and balance. It is sensory in nature. It is sensory in nature. बोललेलं आपल्याला कळतं. That is hearing. As well as balance of the body, we call it as an equilibrium. So it is the auditory, lateral side of the medulla oblongata, internal ear, sensory nature, hearing and equilibrium will be the hearing and balance. More correctly, we can say like that. Then it is the number 9 that is called as glossopharyngeal. Glossopharyngeal, it is the lower region of our face that is said to be the glossopharyngeal region. It is the medulla oblongata, lateral side of the medulla oblongata from where it is arising. And where it innervates, it goes into the muscles, mucous membrane of the pharynx, tongue, parotid salivary gland, just above that, parotid salivary gland, and it will have a mixed nature. What it does, it will control taste, pharyngeal contraction, आपण ज्याला swallowing म्हणतो, that is called as swallowing, taste, pharyngeal contraction, salivary gland and secretion of salivary gland. It will be controlled by glossopharyngeal, lateral side of medulla oblongata, muscle and mucous membrane of the pharynx, tongue, parotid salivary gland, and it is having mixed nature. The taste, pharyngeal contraction, swallowing process, salivary gland secretion and secretion of saliva, it is controlled by number 9, glossopharyngeal. Then number 10, perhaps it is the most top nerve, vagus. It is number 10, vagus, and it is arising from the lateral side of medulla oblongata. It innervate larynx, speech, trachea, the upper part of the respiratory system, pharynx, initial part of the digestive system, esophagus, again alimentary canal, stomach, again alimentary canal, lungs, that is respiratory, heart and intestine. So it is controlling 3 different systems. Number 1, respiratory, number 2, digestive, and at the same time it goes to the circulatory system, heart. So this is the vagus nerve. Vagus nerve number 10, it is tremendously important. It is covering 3 important systems. Number 1, circulatory, respiratory and digestive. Again, it is a mixed nature. It is a visceral sensation and visceral movement that are related to our, we can say, life and death. They are controlled by this vagus nerve. Now, very interesting thing I would like to share. ही वेगस नर्व जी आहे, ऑब्व्हियसली तुम्हाला लक्षात आलं असेल, रेस्पिरेटरी, सर्क्युलेटरी आणि डायजेस्टिव्ह सिस्टीम कव्हर करते. But this is the longest nerve. This is the longest nerve. आणि तुम्हाला माहिती आहे, ख्रिश्चन लोकांमध्ये आपल्याकडे जसं साखरपुडा असतो, त्या ख्रिश्चन लोकांमध्ये एंगेजमेंट सेरेमनी असतो. आणि एंगेजमेंट सेरेमनीमध्ये या बोटातच ना, किया 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 की गळ्यामध्ये कुठेतरी मोठी रिंग टाकतात आणि तिला म्हणतात एंगेजमेंट रिंग. बरोबर आहे का? इट इज द लेफ्ट हँड अँड दिस इज द नेक्स्ट टू वी कॅन से लिटिल फिंगर. इथे रिंग घातली जाते कारण ती वेगस नर्व जी आहे, ऑन वन साइड इट गोज टू द लंग्स, इट गोज टू द हार्ट अँड इट गोज टू दिस रिजन. आणि या बोटामध्ये रिंग घालण्याचं कारण असं की गाढवा, तुझ्या हार्टवर, तुझ्या डायजेस्टिव्ह सिस्टीमवर आणि तुझ्या रेस्पिरेटरी सिस्टीमवर आजपासून माझं बंधन आहे. म्हणून ती इन्व्हेस्टमेंट नाही, एंगेजमेंट रिंग असते. वेगस नर्व आहे, लॅटरल साइड ऑफ द मेड्युला ऑब्लॉंगेटा, area innervated, larynx, trachea, pharynx, esophagus, stomach, lung, heart, intestine, and pura jindagi. What is the nature? Mixed. And it is doing what? Visceral sensation and visceral movement. Activities of these three systems. Additional akrani barajia. Number 11, it is called a spinal accessory. It is the spinal accessory from where it is arising lateral and posterior side of medulla oblongata. Lateral and posterior side of the medulla oblongata. It innervate muscles of the pharynx, larynx, neck, and shoulder. It is innervating what? Muscles of pharynx, larynx, neck, and shoulder. It is motor in nature. And it is a movement of pharynx, larynx, neck, and shoulder. It will be additionally handled by spinal accessory. That is number 11. And number 12, the last one, hypoglossal. Hypoglossal, the nerve arising from the ventral side of medulla oblongata. It innervate the muscles of the tongue, the movement of the tongue, and it is motor. And it is a movement of tongue which is controlled by you. Just imagine, आपली जीभ जर का हल्ली नाही तर आपल्याला बोलता येत नाही. मग जीभ हल्ली पाहिजे, जीभ वळली पाहिजे, and that all the variety of movement related to tongue, it will be controlled by hypoglossal nerve that is arising from the ventral surface of the medulla oblongata. It is the muscles of the tongue that are controlled. And it is motor in nature and movement of the tongue. तर थोडक्यामध्ये सांगायचं या 12 नर्व्स किती 12 आणि मग त्या लक्षात कशा ठेवणार आहे तर यू कॅन रिमेंबर धिस टू टच अँड फील व्हेरी गुड वेलवेट सच हेवन. पण याच्यापेक्षा मला मी तयार केलेलं जास्त आवडतं कोणतं ऑन ऑकेजन ऑफ द टी पार्टी. द का तर इट इज द ट्रॉक्लियर आणि पार्टी टी मग टीपी एकत्र केलाय आम्ही ऑन ऑकेजन ऑफ द टी पार्टी. अट्रॅक्टिव्ह फेसेस कुठे गेला हियर यू कॅन हॅव अट्रॅक्टिव्ह फेसेस आर गॅदर्ड व्हाया स्पेशल हायवे. आणि मग त्यांचे नोमेन्स जे आहे नंबर रोमन नंबर अँड नेम यू हॅव टू रिमेंबर. olfactory number 1, optic number 2, oculomotor number 3, pathetic number 4, trigeminal number 5. पण हिच्या 3 ब्रांचेस ophthalmic, maxillary, mandibular. त्याच्यानंतर मग abducens number 6, 7 facial, 8 auditory, 9 glossopharyngeal, 10 vagus, 11 spinal accessory आणि 12 hypoglossal. फिश, amphibian, reptile किती आहे 10 pairs आणि 11th आणि 12th आपल्यामध्ये mammals मध्ये ऍडिशनल आहे. ओके सो दॅट इज व्हॉट वी कॅन से द cranial nerves. काय घ्या cranial nerves किती आहेत किती आहेत 12. Yes. How can you remember them? How can you remember them? You can remember them by making a sentence. बरोबर आहे का? Memorizing technique it is called as. आणि मग माझं जे सेंटेन्स आहे ते खूप मुलांना आवडेल. कोणतं? ऑन ऑकेजन ऑफ द टी पार्टी अट्रॅक्टिव्ह फेसेस आर गॅदर्ड वाया स्पेशल हायवे. आता स्पेशल हायवे म्हणजे आपला कॉलेज रोड आणि पार्टी असते 31 डिसेंबरची. जाऊ दे आपल्याला ते काय आठवणी काढायच्या नाही. पण व्हॉट इज दॅट? ऑन ऑकेजन ऑफ द टी पार्टी अट्रॅक्टिव्ह फेसेस आर गॅदर्ड व्हाया स्पेशल हायवे. हे एक सेंटेन्स तुम्ही वापरू शकता किंवा इकडे जे आपण दिलेलं आहे ते पण वापरू शकता. कोणतं? व्हॉट इज दॅट? हे मला थोडं डिफिकल्ट वाटतं. ओह टू टच अँड फील व्हेरी गुड वेलवेट सच हेवन. तर याच्यामध्ये आय डोंट नो हाऊ टू रिमेंबर दिस कारण ते मेमरायझिंग टेक्निक मध्ये सोपं असलं पाहिजे इझिली समजलं पाहिजे म्हणून मग आपलंच लक्षात ठेवायचं. ऑन ऑकेजन ऑफ द टी पार्टी अट्रॅक्टिव्ह फेसेस आर गॅदर्ड वाया स्पेशल हायवे. ओके. आणि याच्यामधली सर्वात लेंथला जास्त असलेली कोणती आहे? वेगस नर्व. राइट फ्रॉम दिस फिंगर अप टू द हार्ट टू द लंग्स टू द डाइजेस्टिव सिस्टम, सब कुछ वही कंट्रोल करती है. राइट. So it is a major nerve and it is given the status of wife of our brain. जसं जिंदगीमध्ये वाईफ सगळं कंट्रोल करते, तुम्हाला माहिती असेल ना? काय रे, माहिती असेल ना? जसं जिंदगीमध्ये सगळी वाईफ कंट्रोल करते, तसं ब्रेन मध्ये ब्रेनची ऍक्टिव्हिटी कंट्रोल करण्यासाठी ही एकच नर्व सफिशियंट आहे. दॅट इज नथिंग बट द वेगस नर्व. सो वन्स अगेन, on occasion of the tea party, attractive faces are gathered via special highway. आणि मग आता इथे एक महत्वाची गोष्ट काय करणार आहात तुम्ही? हिअर यू कॅन सी. आता इथे सेन्सरी कोणत्या कोणत्या लक्षात घ्या. 1, 2. ओके. त्याच्यानंतर 8. 1 to 8 या कशा आहेत? सेन्सरी. ओके. मोटर कोणत्या आहेत? 3, 4, 11, 12. बरोबर आहे का? नाही, सॉरी, 3, 4, 6, 11, 12. 3, 4, 6, 11, 12. 128, 3, 4, 6, 11, 12 या कशा आहेत? मोटर. आणि मिक्स कोणत्या कोणत्या आहेत? हिअर यू कॅन हॅव मिक्स मध्ये मग पहिली ट्रायजेमिनल म्हणजे 5 नंबर, 5, 7, 9, 10. 5, 7, 9, 10. These are the mixed. ऍक्च्युअली नीट मध्ये हे कोणत्या नर्व मिक्स आहे, कोणत्या नर्व सेन्सरी, कोणत्या मोटार, याच्यावरच जास्त भर असतो. आणि म्हणून हे नंबर लक्षात ठेवायचे. कोणते कोणते? 128. त्याच्यानंतर हे लिहूनच टाका तुम्ही. लिहितं का पटकन? चला, पहिले लिहा. सेन्सरी. सेन्सरी 1 to 8. 1 to 8. मोटर साठी मोटर 3, 4, 6, 11, 12. 3, 4, 6, 11, 12. 3, 4, 6, 11, 12. आणि मिक्स मध्ये कोण कोण आहे? मिक्स मध्ये पहिली आहे नंबर 5, नंतर 7, 9 and 10. These are said to be the mixed. And परत सांगतो की नीटच्या क्वेश्चन पेपर मध्ये नंबर आणि नेचर या दोघांपैकी एक काहीतरी कन्सिडर करूनच क्वेश्चन असतो. आणि जनरली वन ऑफ द फॉलोइंग इज अ सेन्सरी. बाकीच्या उरलेल्या तुम्हाला दिलेल्या मोटार किंवा मिक्स असतील त्याच्यातनं बरोबर सेन्सरी निवडायची. किंवा वन ऑफ द फॉलोइंग इज मोटार, वन ऑफ द फॉलोइंग इज मिक्स्ड, आणि मग उरलेले 3 जे असतील ते वेगळ्या कॅटेगरीचे. सो दॅट इज द वे द क्वेश्चन्स आर आस्क्ड. Okay, so that is what we can say about the first part of our peripheral nervous system. And that peripheral nervous system, it is arising from the nerves that are arising from the brain and spinal cord. But त्यातल्या brain पासून arise होणारे 12 of them we have studied, and we have remembered them in the form of on occasion of the tea party, attractive faces are gathered via special highway. आणि मग त्यांचे नंबर, त्यांचं नेचर आपण लक्षात ठेवलं आहे. इथपर्यंत काही अडचण वाटते?